It can be found everywhere from clothing, jewelry, and bumper stickers to entire monuments. It has been scrawled on walls and vehicles, formed out of groups of people, and even carved into the sides of mountains. Inextricably associated with the American Hippie and Anti-War movements of the 1960s and 70s, it is nonetheless recognized all around the world. It is the peace sign, 3 straight lines forming an inverted Y enclosed within a circle. But who came up with this symbol, and how did such a simple arrangement of lines come to represent so complex and abstract concept as peace? Well, put on your tie-dye shirt and grab your protest sign as we dive into the fascinating history of one of the 20th century's most iconic and enduring pieces of graphic design.
Just before we get back to today's video, wanted to say a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Outskill, the world's largest AI education platform. If you happen to be in a profession that is currently under threat from AI, or just interested in staying on top of trends, tools, and technologies, Outskill is currently offering a 2-day AI mastermind class this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. 16 hours, 10 powerful tools, and skills to help you future-proof your career. And the best part, the first 1,000 seats are available for free for the next 72 hours. This AI mastermind has been attended by some 4 million people across the globe in the last year alone, covering a wide variety of topics from learning the language of AI, aka prompt engineering, to get the best output from the 10 most powerful AI tools, how to use AI in Excel in an actual useful way, and create professional presentations effortlessly, developing AI agents, automating your workflow to save time and boost productivity, build interactive apps and websites, the list goes on and on. Attendees of day 1 will also get a prompt Bible with over 3,000 prompts, roadmap to make money with AI when you attend day 2, and your personalized AI toolkit builder if you attend both days. So whether you're from HR, marketing, sales, ops, or even running your own business or freelancing, Outskill's Mastermind can help you stay on top of current trends and technologies. So make sure your calendar is cleared for this weekend. The training is scheduled for the coming Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both days. Click the link below to save your seat now before it expires. Now let's get back to today's video.
Throughout history, various symbols have been used to represent the concept of peace. Among the earliest appeared in the 9th century BCE on coins minted by Croesus, king of Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey. Renowned for his extravagant wealth, Croesus was among the first rulers in history to mint standardized gold coins and was the namesake of the now nearly defunct idiom, rich as Croesus. In 800 BCE, Croesus cemented a peaceful alliance with the Hellenic city-state of Syme. To commemorate the occasion, Croesus minted coins bearing the figure of a lion representing Lydia and a bull representing Greece facing each other in a truce. This image of predator and prey lying down together as a symbol of peace is an enduring one, most famously appearing in the Bible in the Old Testament. And the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little boy will lead them. Another common symbol of peace originating in ancient Greece is the olive branch. In the foundation myth of Athens, Athena, goddess of wisdom, competed with Poseidon, god of the sea, for patronage of the then unnamed city-state. Cecrops, king of the region, declared that the god who offered the best gift to his subjects would win the contest. Poseidon went first and struck a rock with his trident, causing a fountain of water to gush forth. Unfortunately, it was undrinkable seawater. Athena then presented Cecrops with the first domesticated olive tree and was handily declared the winner, becoming the patron goddess and namesake of Athens. In keeping with the sacred status of the olive tree, Greeks of lower status carried olive branches called hekateria as symbols of supplication when approaching persons of higher status or when entering temples to the gods. Believed to drive away evil spirits, olive branches were worn by Greek brides and awarded to athletes during the Olympic Games. The olive branch eventually became associated with the goddess Irene, whom the ancient Romans later renamed Pax, the root of the word peace in multiple languages. To this day, the olive branch is widely used as a symbol of peace, such as on the emblem of the United Nations and the Great Seal of the United States, while to extend the olive branch is still understood to mean to make a peace offering. And for more on another ancient Roman symbol still widely used today, please do check out our previous video, the OG fascist symbol that is still found everywhere. In any event, early Christians coupled the olive branch with another classic symbol of peace, the white dove. This is a reference to the biblical story of the Great Flood. According to the book of Genesis, after Noah and his family had been floating in the ark for 150 days, a white dove appeared bearing an olive branch in its mouth, a sign that land was nearby. The ark soon made landfall on top of Mount Ararat, that, whereupon the floodwaters began to recede. The dove thus came to represent the everlasting peace that was supposed to follow the washing away of humanity's sins. It was also commonly used in Christian artwork to represent the Holy Spirit descending from heaven. Now let's fast forward to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In the wake of modern conflicts such as the American Civil War, Second Boer War, and especially the First World War, hundreds of pacifist organizations sprang up around the world. To represent their goals and ideals, these groups turned to an eclectic variety of symbols. Among the earliest of these universal peace symbols, widely used by the anti-war movement during the American Civil War, was the white flag, used for centuries to signal truce, surrender, or ceasefire on the battlefield. In 1891, the Third Universal Peace Conference in Rome expanded on this motif by introducing a universal peace flag pattern. Devised by Henry Petit, this consisted of a white border placed around a country's national flag. A gold border could be substituted by nations whose flag already had a white border, while the word peace in the local language could also be included. This pattern was also used, though never officially adopted, by the American Peace Society and the Universal Peace Union. A more recent twist on this concept is the Peace Flag Initiative, which proposes that every September the 21st, the United Nations International Day of Peace, every nation fly an all-white version of its national flag to symbolize global unity. Other proposed universal symbols include the broken rifle, the symbol of the organization War Resisters International since 1931, and the Banner of Peace, the official flag of the Roerich Pact. Officially known as the Treaty of the Protection of Artistic and Scientific Institutions and Historic Monuments, the pact was created in 1935 by Russian artist Nicholas Roerich. Its aim was to obtain legal recognition that the protection of cultural objects and institutions is more important than the exploitation or destruction of said culture for military purposes. The Banner of Peace, designed by Roerich, consisted of 3 red dots enclosed in a red ring set against a white field. Of the symbol's exact meaning, Roerich was rather vague, stating, "The proposed banner is the symbol of whole world, not a country, but the whole civilized world. The banner proposed has on the white background 3 united amaranth spheres as a symbol of eternity and unity. The sign of Trinity is found scattered around the whole world." Now, anybody can explain it by various ways. One says that it is the past, present, and future united by the circle of eternity. Others explain it as a religion, knowledge, and art in the circle of culture. Unsurprisingly, neither the decided on-the-nose broken rifle nor the curiously abstract Banner of Peace ever really caught on. Instead, the most widely used symbols of peace in the first half of the 20th century were the ancient figures of the dove and the olive branch. The former became particularly popular in 1949 when legendary Spanish artist Pablo Picasso created a lithograph of a white dove on a black background titled La Colombe. French poet Louis Aragon discovered the lithograph while visiting Picasso's studio and chose it to illustrate the poster for the 1949 Paris Peace Congress. Picasso's dove was extensively reproduced in all kinds of media and soon became a widely recognized symbol not only of peace but also of the French Communist Party, of which both Picasso and Aragon were members. While Picasso was criticized for his apparently anti-Western leanings at the 1950 World Peace Council in Sheffield, England, he summarized his political views as, quote, "I stand for life against death. I stand for peace against war." Nonetheless, Picasso's dove became a favorite target for mockery among anti-communist groups, with the French organization Peace and Liberty releasing a poster of a Soviet tank disguised as a dove with the caption, "The dove that goes boom." Another peace symbol that draws from the biblical flood myth is the International Peace Flag, designed by Italian pacifist and philosopher Aldo Capitini. Intended for use on a 1961 peace march from Perugia to Assisi, the flag consists of 7 horizontal rainbow stripes with the word peace in the center, the design being a reference to the rainbow that God used to promise Noah that there would never be another great flood. The International Peace Flag came to wider public attention in 2002 when Italian pacifists launched the Peace from Every Balcony campaign to protest the imminent US invasion of Iraq. In more recent years, however, this flag is less widely used due to its similarity to the rainbow LGBTQ+ pride flag designed by Gilbert Baker in 1978. With the possible exception of the dove and olive branch, none of the previous emblems and flags truly succeeded in becoming a universal symbol of peace. What we now recognize as the peace sign would not appear until 1958, though initially it was intended to symbolize not the general concept of peace, but of something rather darker. On October 3rd, 1952, Britain became the 3rd nation to join the nuclear club when it detonated a 25-kiloton plutonium implosion device codenamed Hurricane off the Montebello Islands in northwestern Australia. More tests would follow at Emu Field and Maralinga on the Australian mainland, as well as Christmas Island in the South Pacific, cementing Britain's status as a major nuclear power. Back at home, dozens of pacifist groups vehemently opposed what they saw as unchecked nuclear proliferation and founded a national movement known as the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, or CND. CND. Among these groups was the Direct Action Committee Against Nuclear War, or DAC, founded in 1957 with a mission of, quote, assisting the conducting of non-violent direct action to obtain the total renunciation of nuclear war and its weapons by Britain and all other countries as a first step in disarmament. Inspired by the non-violent civil disobedience tactics of Mahatma Gandhi in early 1958, the DAC began planning an 83-kilometre protest march from London's Trafalgar Square to Aldermaston in Berkshire, the site of the atomic weapons research establishment. Tasked with designing a unifying symbol for the march and the CND as a whole was Gerald Holtom, a successful graphic designer and artist and a member of the DAC. A graduate of the Royal College of Art, Holtom had been a conscientious objector during the Second World War, spending the conflict working on a farm rather than joining the armed forces. The accounts differ as to how Holtom came to design the CND symbol, with some sources claiming he was specifically asked by the DAC and others that he submitted the design unsolicited to the committee. Whatever the case, according to Professor Andrew Rigby, who wrote in a 2002 issue of Peace News, quote, Holtom was convinced that it should have a symbol associated with it that would leave in the public mind a visual image signifying nuclear disarmament, and which would also convey the theme that it was the responsibility of each and every individual to work to remove the threat of nuclear war. At first he toyed with the idea of using the Christian cross as the dominant motif, but realized that in Eastern eyes the Christian cross was synonymous with crusading tyranny, culminating in Belsen and Hiroshima and the manufacture and testing of the H-bomb. He rejected the image of the dove as it had been appropriated by the Stalin regime to bless and legitimize their H-bomb manufacture. Instead, for inspiration, Holtom drew upon, of all things, the naval semaphore flag code, in which letters are spelled out by holding a pair of flags at different angles. To create his now iconic design, Holtom simply combined the semaphore signals for N and D for nuclear disarmament and enclosed them in a circle for greater visual impact. So while the symbol may appear completely abstract, it does in fact have a surprisingly literal meaning. But there is more to Holtom's creation than just spelling out letters. As Holtom later wrote to Hugh Brock, editor of Peace News, quote, I was in despair, deep despair. I drew myself, the representation of an individual in despair, with hands palm outstretched outwards and downwards in the manner of Goya's peasants before the firing squad. I formalized the drawing into a line and put a circle around it. Here, Goya's peasant refers to the 1814 painting, the 3rd of May 1808, by Spanish artist Francisco Goya, which depicts Spanish guerrillas being executed by a Napoleonic firing squad during the 1807 to 1814 Peninsular War. However, it is worth noting that in the painting, the peasant in question is standing upright with his hands raised to the sky rather than lying prostrate on the ground. Nonetheless, Holtom's anthropomorphic intent is readily apparent in his first version of the CND symbol, whose lines flare out where the symbolic despairing man's head and hands would be. Only later would they be replaced with straight lines, creating the peace sign that we know and love today. In February 1958, Holtom presented his design to the DAC, who immediately approved it for use for the Aldermaston March, which took place over Easter weekend. For the occasion, 500 cardboard lollipops on sticks bearing Holtom's symbol were produced, half black on white and half white on green. Just as the church traditionally changed its liturgical colours over Easter, the idea went the processor's colours would also change from winter to spring, from death to life, between the first day of the march and the second. Hundreds of small badges were also produced for the march by Kensington CND member Eric Austin, with the symbol painted in black paint on white clay. The choice of material was darkly symbolic, as a note distributed with the badges explained. In the event of a nuclear war, these fired pottery badges would be among the few artifacts of humanity to survive the inferno. Holtom's design made an immediate and lasting impression, quickly becoming a widely recognized symbol of the CND and the nuclear disarmament movement as a whole. As the official history of the CND states, quote, the symbol was a visual adhesive to bind the Aldermaston March and later the whole campaign together, probably the most powerful, memorable, and adoptable image ever designed for a secular cause. So powerful and adaptable, in fact, that Holtom's creation wasted little time crossing the Atlantic. The symbol first came to the attention of the American people shortly after the Aldermaston March, where American pacifist protester Albert Bigelow flew the CND banner from his sailboat, the Golden Rule, while attempting to sail into the US Pacific Proving Grounds in the Marshall Islands to protest nuclear testing. Unfortunately, Bigelow never made it to the Marshalls, his boat being impounded by the government as soon as he reached Hawaii. The CND symbol, however, was likely imported to the United States by activist Bayard Rustin, an associate of Martin Martin Luther King Jr., who had travelled to the UK to participate in the 1958 Aldermaston March. By 1960, C&D buttons were being imported from the UK by Philip Altbach, a freshman at the University of Chicago and a member of the Student Peace Union, or SPU, who had officially adopted the symbol as their own. In crossing the pond, however, the symbol quickly lost its association with nuclear disarmament and instead became a symbol for the broader anti-war movement and the concept of world peace more generally, especially following the escalation of the war in Vietnam. As Ken Colsburn, a historian and photojournalist who spent years documenting the peace symbol's evolution, stated, in the 1960s in the US, it was mainly anti-war. I didn't even know that it meant nuclear disarmament. From these humble beginnings, use of the symbol exploded. Thousands of buttons bearing the emblem were distributed on college campuses and displayed at anti-Vietnam War protests, quickly becoming associated with the hippie and counterculture movements of the 1960s and 70s. The symbol was worn on jewelry, dyed into clothing, painted on vehicles, protest signs, buildings, and every other surface imaginable, and even ironically worn on the uniforms of American soldiers in Vietnam, as memorably depicted in the 1987 film Full Metal Jacket. According to Ken Colsburn, the symbol's versatility and enduring success likely stem from its elegant simplicity. You can have a 5-year-old draw it. It's such a powerful symbol with a sort of hypnotic appeal. It came at the right time. It kept adapting, like a chameleon, taking on many different meanings for peace and justice. It's an amazing design. Big corporations would die for something like this. Just look at how many have their logos in a circle. Not surprisingly, some people draw it incorrectly without the bottom line and unwittingly draw the Mercedes logo. Likewise, design critic Stephen Bailey points out the symbol's symbolic ambiguity as the key to its lasting impact. All good graphic devices should be lucid and capable of applications in different media, but this one has the advantage of a nice semantic ambiguity. It can be read in different ways. A missile at liftoff, a person waving in despair, a druidical reference, but it bypasses interpretation. It's a thing unto itself. It's a minor masterpiece with major evocative power. It speaks very clearly of an era and a sensibility. It is simply a fine period piece. The ordinary thing done extraordinarily well. Another factor in the symbol's success is that it was never trademarked, allowing it to be endlessly adapted and remixed. For instance, Christian chapters of the CND circled back to Holtham's original rejected concepts and extended the vertical line of the peace symbol to form the outline of a Christian cross. While following the 2015 terror attacks in Paris, French artist Jean Julien reimagined the design using the shape of the Eiffel Tower, creating an instantly recognizable symbol of solidarity. Given the symbol's popularity and versatility, it is perhaps unsurprising that in 1972, private companies, Intercontinental Shoe Corporation of New York and Love Inc. of Miami, attempted to register the peace sign as trademarks. However, U.S. Commissioner of Patents William E. Schuler Jr. rejected the application, stating that the symbol could not properly function as a trademark subject to registration by the Patent Office. Yet, despite the peace sign's ubiquity, not everyone was a fan of Holtham's design. Ironically, despite Holtham's deliberate avoidance of Christian iconography, American evangelical Christians like Billy James Hargis interpreted the peace sign as an inverted, broken cross, claiming it, like the wider anti-war and counterculture movements, to be a symbol of homegrown anti-Christian, anti-American, and pro-communist sentiments. Likewise, in 1973, the government of South Africa attempted to ban the peace sign, which had evolved once again to become a symbol of anti-apartheid protest. Others have pointed out the symbol's similarity to the death rune, a symbol long associated with Western esotericism and used by the Nazis in wreath form to honor soldiers who had died a heroic death. However, it is generally agreed that the similarity between the two symbols is purely coincidental. Even Holtham himself was not quite satisfied with the final product, realizing too late that he should have inverted the image to depict the semaphore letters U and D for unilateral or universal disarmament. As Ken Colsburn explains, he preferred the inverted version. I think at the very beginning he saw it as nuclear disarmament, but as time went on, I believe he felt it should really have been universal or unilateral disarmament that would take care of all weapons. He wanted the inverted version to appear on his tombstone, but unfortunately that didn't happen. According to Holtham, inverting the design would have changed it from a symbol of despair to one of optimism and increased its symbolic potency, allowing it to represent all manner of images such as the Tree of Life or Christ crucified on the cross. But by this time, it was already too late. Within just a few years of its introduction, the peace sign had spread across the globe, its design and use now beyond Holtham's ability to edit or control. Never trademarked, today the peace sign belongs to no one and to everybody, just like the tantalizing but ever elusive concept of world peace itself.